everybody knows from his personal experience, personal life, that a good family doctor is the one who knows everything about his patient, who knows his family history, and sometimes it is enough that you are visiting the family doctor. He takes a look and a short conversation, and you are feeling better. So this is something that shows that there is a special connection. So the personal doctors are important, and also important for the understanding of the life of the Führer. There are some doctors who were more important than others in the life of the Führer. In his early life, it is Dr. Eduard Bloch. So he was the family doctor in his early life. In his later life as a political figure, as an important political figure, which is known to everybody, there were the doctors Karl Brandt and Theodor Morell, like the key figures. Maybe the key figure was Theodor Morell, maybe, like, to summarize it. But now we take a look at Dr. Bloch first. Yeah, let's see. Dr. Eduard Bloch, he was born on 30 January of 1872. So he was, we can say, considerably older than Adolf Hitler. And he died in June in 1945. Yeah, practically he died only a month later than Adolf Hitler himself. Adolf Hitler, but Eduard Bloch was Adolf Hitler's childhood doctor. Dr. Eduard Bloch was known as a humble and yet compassionate physician practicing in the town Linz in Upper Austria. Linz is the capital of Upper Austria, and he was there practicing during Adolf Hitler's youth. We know that Adolf Hitler and his family spent their time in Linz during the time when Adolf Hitler visited school. They lived always in the surroundings of Linz or in Linz themselves. He is born in Braunau, that's right, but mostly the use, and I think the most important town also for Adolf Hitler was Linz and not Braunau. Braunau, it's a birthplace, but it was Linz. And it was also the town of his heart. It was his hometown, and he maybe even he thought about it when retiring. And there was a rumor that Hitler wanted to retire after 45. And he spoke about succession. There was something about succession in the room. He was also feeling that he was getting weaker and older and so on. And if war would won, he knew that war could not be won, but he lived in an illusion that war could be won. And he was, until his final days, playing with like how to architecturally rebuild the town Linz, where he and Eva Braun would retire. Yeah, Eva Braun, not Eduard Eduard Bloch. Yeah, in Linz. As the family doctor to the Hitlers, so to the Hitler family, Bloch cared for young Adolf and his sibling, and notably providing dedicated care during the illness of Hitler's beloved mother, Klara. That was maybe the main function and the main thing that Adolf Hitler did not forget during his whole life until his death, that he was caring for his mother, Klara. And we know about the special relationship between Adolf Hitler and his Klara. So there were a really special relationships between the two. Despite the turbulent times and Hitler's later infamy, Dr. Bloch, who was Jewish, that's an important fact, was remembered by Hitler with unusual respect and gratitude, a rare exception in the shadow of this history of the Third Reich. So, but we have not spoken of, so now let's speak about who was Dr. Bloch. Dr. Bloch was from South Bohemia. Bohemia, that's another name for the Czech land, not republic, because republic is not something new. It's the classical, the Latin name for the Czech lands. Etymologically, it's coming from the name for the Celtic tribe Boy. So only like a side information. That's the side information. So he there in České Budějovice, that is Budweis. We know also the Budweis beer. This is a town in the south near to Austrian border, České Budějovice. There he attended high school. And like many Jewish intellectuals, he studied in Prague. We have to know that in the so-called Czech Republic or the Czechoslovakian Republic after World War I, there in the towns, on the big towns like Brno or Jihlava or Pilsen, České Budějovice, Praha, so on, there was an intellectual real strong presence, like let's call it presence of German-speaking intellectuals. So it's better to use the term German-speaking than to say German or Jew, because it was being Jew was not always like a nationality. That is, from upcoming Zionism, but it is a German-speaking population, and there were partly Jews, or on the universities, the Jews, the German-speaking population with Jew faith was quite strong. We know that they were overrepresented. It was also something that was obviously claimed by the Nazis that on the University of Germany, there are statistically a lot of more Jews than in the regular population. That was something that they didn't like. And the same was true for the Czech Republic, so also in Prague. So that is nothing strange that German-speaking Dr. Bloch were studying in Prague. He was Hitler's family physician in Linz, and as I said, he took care of Hitler's mother, who died of cancer in 1907. At that time, we know that it was known that Bloch did not charge for his services or charged less money for his services, and he dedicated himself to support Klara Hitler in her latest month of life in 95, 96, especially in the last year, 97. He supported also with the costs of the funeral and everything. He was somebody who, at the end, they had to pay a big bill, like for the treatment of the cancer. And he said that they had to pay only a part of this bill and so on. That is things we know that also Hitler didn't forget, that they didn't have the money, the family of Hitler, and Dr. Bloch was in this regard generous. We can say like this. And yes, that we will say later about his later statements about Hitler. Yes. Then we know in 1938 there was the Anschluss of Austria. German troops occupied Austria, and the Jewish doctor, like being Jewish, Dr. Bloch, who was still practicing there, came under pressure from the Gestapo, and that immediately. It was immediately a problem, and then he wrote a letter to Hitler. He was not the only one writing letters. because when Austria was annexed, there were also other Jews who knew Hitler personally, also in Vienna, and they came all under pressure. They were forbidden immediately to practice like doctors or like in other professions, state professions. So they were thrown out of, and then they came under also under physical pressure, and then they were, as we know, like collected into camps and so on. He wrote a letter, and he had the luck that the letter also arrived to Hitler. There were other cases we know that letters were written to Hitler, and the chancellery, the censorship identified the sender as a Jew, and the letter were not passed to Hitler and was sent back. But in this case, he had success, and Hitler helped him and placed him under his personal protection and classified him as an Edeljude as a noble Jew, something, and offered him immediately also Aryanization. He said, "You can be an Aryan. We can write a document about this." We know the famous statements from Göring, who said, "I decide who is a Jew." Like, when I wrote your document that you are not a Jew, then it's enough. We know that Heinrich Himmler, the SS captain, Führer of the SS, he was against such a practice. For him, it was a biological thing. Think, if somebody is a Jew, he's a Jew. You cannot change it. And even if Hitler will change it, he will not respect it. So for Himmler, it was a big problem. But in this regard, Hitler was different. So he protected him, and he refused it. He said, I will not lose my faith as a Jew. I will stay it, and I choose to emigrate to the US. And also that was like not, also in this regard, Hitler helped him, and Bloch and his wife could stay peacefully in their home while completing their immigration formalities, because it took some time. And unlike most Jews, they also could sell their house at full market value. But normally, when an immigration was allowed, and we know at the beginning an immigration was allowed, and later it was not allowed. So the Nazis, they changed their politics with the Jews. At the beginning, they motivated to emigrate the Jews, and then later not. And in this phase, when the immigration was allowed, they normally had to sold their belongings for a less value, for a lot of less value, for something. They have to sort it out. And in his case, it was not that he could sort it for a market value. Finally, he emigrated to the United States in 1940, where he served also as an indirect informant and a source for the American service OSS, the predecessor of the CIA. Walter Langer, the psychologist who wrote a bestseller about Adolf Hitler, the psychologist, mental state of Adolf Hitler. He used the information of Dr. Bloch. Dr. Bloch gave a lot of information about Hitler's character also, and he informed about that he was emphasizing that he had never seen somebody mourn his mother to such an extent as Adolf Hitler did. And that also he did not mention that Adolf Hitler would be mentally ill or something like this. He thought he was a difficult child. He also gave information about Adolf Hitler in the school, like as a schoolboy. And he said he was a different child. That's right. So we had a lot of information from this. He was settling to New York, and there lived quietly. He passed away. He was already very ill, and in 1935, I said, he passed away in New York City, in the Bronx. That was Eduard Bloch. Yes.